All right. As we are just letting people join, I'm going to kick things off by saying good afternoon and welcome. My name is Emily Gorman. I am the Director of Community Engagement with AARP Indiana, and I'm joined today by my colleague Addison Pollock, the other Director of Community Engagement. And today we're really excited to welcome you to this important discussion about scams and fraud in Indiana. We're going to be speaking to our expert, Adam, in just a moment to learn as much as we possibly can about how to avoid becoming a victim of fraud. Addison?
Yeah, so during this webinar, you'll be able to ask Adam, our guest, questions about scams to look out for, how you can protect yourself. So please start thinking about those questions now. You may also want to grab a pen and paper to take some notes on everything that's discussed today to reference later, or just to jog your memory later in the conversation. By the end of today's event, you should know that about the warning signs of some of the most common scams and how you can avoid becoming a victim of those scams. You will know what to do if you are contacted by scammers, and we will share resources on where you can get information and assistance that you need if you fall victim to such a scam.
So before we start, really quickly, I just want to share that AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan social mission organization. We're in your corner and we're fighting for you on issues that matter to you and your family. The AARP Fraud Watch Network is our nationwide effort to arm people with the tools that they need to spot and stop scams. So in 2022, consumers reported losing almost $8.8 billion to scams and fraud, which is up 30% over 2021's losses. The impact on victims and their families can be financially and emotionally devastating. And that's why AARP is here to help protect you and your loved ones from fraud and scams with reliable and up-to-date insights.
That's right, Emily. The AARP Fraud Watch Network is a free resource for all, to anyone, any age. It's accessible online. We equip consumers with up-to-date knowledge to spot and avoid scams and connect those targeted by scams with our fraud helpline specialists, who can provide support and guidance on what to do next. So through the AARP Fraud Watch Network, you can sign up to receive free bi-weekly Fraud Watch alerts delivered right to your email inbox. If you're concerned that you've been scammed, or you can reach out to a trained volunteer at the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline. That number is, if you have that pen and paper handy, the number is 877-908-3360. And you can listen to also a popular podcast called The Perfect Scam, where you'll hear from law enforcement, professional con artists, and victims who discuss the latest scams and how to protect yourselves.
And I am just dropping into the chat a couple of links, the phone number that you can use as well. So make sure you note all this stuff down. But you can also head to aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork for all of the list of resources that we have on offer to help you avoid becoming a victim. So today we are speaking with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Indiana. We're joined today by Adam Eakman, an attorney and federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice. His practice focuses on prosecuting white-collar crimes, and he is the elder fraud coordinator for the office. He graduated from Indiana University Robert H. McKinney School of Law. After graduation, Adam worked for a law firm in Indianapolis doing business litigation, and then clerked for Judge James Patrick Hanlon, a federal judge in the Southern District of Indiana. He has been a federal prosecutor for 5 years. He's been married for 14 years and has 4 children, which I find so hard to believe because you don't even look old enough. Sorry, Adam, really, I have one more thing. Before we hand over, I just want to give you one last reminder. If you have questions for Adam, please make sure you use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and that will add your question to a queue that we can get to before the end of the call. If we aren't able to get to everything today, we're going to note down your information and we'll make sure we get you an answer after this event wraps up. Lastly, if you could just have a look at how your name is listed on the attendee list, like where it says your name. If you can just make sure that you click the box with the 3 dots next to your name and select rename if your appearance, like your screen name, is different to what the name you registered with. We'd love to be able to check you in and mark that you attended using the name that you actually registered with. So if you could have a look and make sure that you rename yourself. If your name says Emily's iPad or something, it would be really helpful if you could change it to your last name. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Adam and let you take it away from here. Adam, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Emily and Addison. Appreciate it, and appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys today. As she said, I'm a federal prosecutor. So what I do day in, day out is we build cases to make sure people who are defrauding people, especially the elderly, are held accountable, and they go to jail and they spend time in jail for ripping people off. But that takes hours and hours of work. It takes sometimes a trial, which could be several days, and we have found that the most efficient way to help our victims is to just make sure they don't become victims in the first place. So that's why I love the opportunity to do these kind of presentations, because the best thing you can do for yourself is be alert, be aware, and make sure you're not a victim. That's much better than seeing me on the back end where I'm having to talk to you about going to trial and proving up your case and finding the person who stole from you, or even worse, saying we can't prove a case or we can't catch them, so they got away with your money. No one wants that. So the best approach is to be proactive. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll show this PowerPoint I have. Hopefully you guys are able to see that.
It looks good on our end.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'll get started. So
Oh, 1 second, Adam. We can see presenter view, which has your notes on it.
oh, okay. Is this okay?
I think so. If you X out of that box on the side and make it just a little bit bigger, that should work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that looks good.
Okay. So a little bit about our office. I won't linger too much on this. We do all the crimes in the Southern District of Indiana that are federal crimes, and the Southern District of Indiana is basically the southern half of Indiana. So we cover a lot of federal crimes in our office. And the key takeaways, we do prioritize fraud cases that target the elderly. This is a headline that you might have read a few years ago. There was a 5-defendant case in which the defendants went to prison for this nationwide grandparents scam with 68 victims. Some of these defendants were located in Indiana, some not. So these are cases we pursue, and we pursue vigorously. But the key goal with today is make sure you don't even go that far. You don't even become a victim. So the key things I'd want everyone to remember is this slide here. Calm down, slow down, and talk to someone you know. 3 things there. If you do those 3 things, you will greatly, greatly increase your chances of never becoming a fraud victim. Calm down, slow down, and talk to someone you know. So if you're going to take any note today, that would be what I want you to take. And I'll explain why this works in my presentation. But before then, I just wanted to show there are literally millions of reports of being scammed online, fraud reports. And this is identity theft, imposter scams, things like that. So you're not alone. If you feel like maybe you are participating in this presentation, you've already been a victim, or you've gotten texts about Amazon packages, or maybe you've gotten texts about tolls that you need to pay. Those are scams, and millions of them are happening every year. So one myth I want to start by dispelling is it is a myth that older people are scammed more often than the younger people. Younger people reported losing money to fraud more often than older people. This percent shows that. But the problem with this is that when you're 20 years old and you lose money, you don't have that much money to lose anyway. And even if you did lose it all, you've got another 60 years to make it all back up. So it's not that big of a problem. But when someone 70 or older is a victim of a scam, which is what you see on the right here, they lose more money. And that money is not as easily replaced. It's much harder for a 75-year-old to replace $2,000 of their savings than a 20-year-old. So that's why the elderly are targeted. They have more of a nest egg, and that's why we want to protect them, because when they get victims, it's harder for them to make that money back. Here's the main trends, losses reported for people 70 to 90. But what I want to show here is the right-hand side of this PowerPoint. The main way these people are being paid is gift cards, which I'll talk about later, and the main way they're being contacted is phone calls. Put those in the back of your mind, because those are important things to remember. Gift cards and phone calls is the main contact method, but email is really important, popular too. So we're going to talk about the most prolific types of scams. I'm going to give you the scammer's playbook, what they do to take money from victims. And we're going to open this playbook and learn how to make sure we aren't victims by learning from their playbook. So they have three things they always do: an emotional hook, a sense of urgency, and they want to create a sense of isolation. That's their goal. They want to do all three things. And if they can do all three things, they know that you are much more likely to give them money than if they can't pull these things off. So let's take this first one, the emotional hook. What does that look like? How do they get an emotional hook? Well, there's several types of emotions that they'll play on. The number one that I've seen the most in the last 8 months is fear. They are targeting you with fear. So what they'll say is there's a serious, they'll call you, they'll get your phone number, not hard to do, and they'll say something that immediately, as soon as you hear it, a rush of emotion will come over you, fear will come over you, and now you're not thinking logically, you're thinking with that emotion of fear. What does that look like? So I haven't seen this as much in the last few years, but it's kind of a classic scam, which is grandparent, grandson, a friend in need. You'll get a call and say, the person will say, "Grandma, I'm your grandson. I was taking a trip in Cancun and I got in an accident. Now I'm in the hospital and I need money." Or they'll say, "This is bail in Mexico. You need to post bail," or "This is a hospital," or something has gone wrong with someone in your family and they're calling for money. That's, of course, you'll be frightened. It's scary to think of grandchildren getting hurt, loved ones getting in jail. But that's what they want. They want you to be scared. They want you to have fear. The one that I've seen the most in the last, I'll say 3 or 4 months, is this government imposter scam mixed with a tech support scam. So what we've seen is you'll get a pop-up on your computer, you have a virus, or these terrible files were found, or your bank account has been compromised, or you'll get an email saying something like that. Call this number to fix it. So you call the number. Well, they'll say your account's been hacked. We're going to connect you to an FBI agent. And now you think you're talking to an FBI agent. It's all a scam. They are scamming you. They're trying to trick you into thinking something has gone terribly wrong. The key, I'm going to come back to this again and again. So what do you do when you get this sense of fear? Calm down. Step one, I'm going to go back to that slide I showed you. Remember this? Calm down. So you need to calm down and think about what is happening. So do you know of your grandson going to Mexico? If that doesn't sound right, hang up the phone, call his parents, call your grandson's parents, figure out where he is. If you think you have a virus, don't call the number in the email, hang up, and maybe go to Best Buy and buy an antivirus program. if you calm down, you can think through any of these problems logically. But if you're not calm and you're getting wrapped up in these phone calls, that's when you can quickly find yourself paying $2,000 for an antivirus program, or taking all the money out of your bank account in cash because it's not safe. Don't do that, so you need to calm down. Next are scams that target hope. So this will be something like, you are going to be rich. You have money coming to you. You're going to be a millionaire, but you just need to pay some money to get it. I've not seen much of the second two, the investment scam and psych scams, but lottery scams, you bet. I see those quite a bit. What this looks like is you'll get a call, you'll get an email saying you've won a sweepstakes, you've won the lottery, you've won whatever it is, and you're going to be rich. All you need to do is pay taxes on your winnings. And initially it'll be a modest sum, a few $100s. So you're saying, well, I'd be an idiot not to pay $200 to get $500,000. So you pay the $200. Well, what'll happen next is they'll say, okay, now you have to pay customs. That's $1,000. You say, well, I've already put in $200. I'm getting 500,000. So what's another 1,000? Then they'll say, okay, now you have to pay import fees. That's another 2,000. And it keeps going and going and going until you have spent all your money. And the lottery is never coming. It's not on its way. You've been scammed. And the way this works is, as soon as you hear you've won $500,000, everyone's mind starts saying, oh, I could pay off the mortgage, or I could help the grandchildren go to college, or I could finally go to Europe. You begin to think of all the things you could do with all that money, and it's this emotion that's taken over, not logic. So the key takeaway here is, if you are getting that rush of hope that you're going to become rich, calm down, think logically. Do you even remember entering this lottery? Did you buy a lottery ticket? Does that sound right? And even if it does, I'll tell you now, the way lottery winnings work is you get your winnings and they take the taxes out of the winnings they pay you. So if you won 100,000, they give you less than 100,000 because they pay taxes on your winnings. They do not ask you to pay it up front. You don't have to pay taxes up front. You don't have to pay customs. You don't have to pay import fees. That's all a scam. So it might seem logical to pay a little bit of money to get a lot of money on the back end, but just don't do it. Remember, calm down. The second emotion that they'll play is love. So you've met someone who's in love with you and you can't meet them, and now they need money. Romance scams. I think most people are generally aware of this, but what they're not aware of is the scammers now are very good, and they've honed what works. And what they have found works is not to say, I just met you, I'm in love with you, send me $10,000, is to do it over months or even years. So they will gladly spend an hour a day answering messages from you, building a relationship, and they'll do an hour a day for months. And then you really feel like you know this person. You've never seen them, but you maybe even have seen their picture. They may even had a video chatted with you. These scammers are getting good that they'll have actresses on standby or actors on standby. So if they ever get asked to do a video call, they pull that one person they have on standby. You've never met them in person. And then after a year of these conversations, they'll say, oh, I need to come in. I just need money for a flight. Or, oh, I'm stuck in Iraq, or I'm stuck in Afghanistan, and I have these medical needs. Can you help me out? It always ends in asking for money. So what do? You calm down, and you might feel like you're in love, but the bottom line is you've not physically met this person face to face. So when they start asking for money, you don't know who the money's really going to, and it's a scam. So don't send money to someone you've never physically met face to face. You can touch them, you can shake their hand. Don't send money, even if you feel like you're in love. That's exactly what the scammers want. They know that works, so that's why they invest so much time in this method. The next, so the key takeaway here is, remember, calm down, think things through. If you are calm and you're thinking things through, you'll catch a lot of the scammers' mistakes, that you didn't enter the lottery. Or, now that I think about it, that doesn't really sound like my grandson's voice. Or why would the hospital be asking this child's grandparents to pay medical fees? Why not his parents? Things like that. So when you calm down and you start thinking things through, that's when you can make sure you're not a victim. So you feel fear, you feel love, you feel hope, whatever it is. If you get a phone call or an email that's bringing up these well of powerful emotions, the first thing you do is don't respond to the email. Don't call that number. Don't give your credit card number. Don't give your social security number. Slow down and calm down. Even if you're on the phone, it's perfectly fine to say, can I get a number to call you back? I need to think this through. Any reasonable doctor, FBI agent, if they are real, they would say, of course. That's what you need to do. You get an email, don't respond right away. Go take a walk, go take a break and think it through. It is always okay to say, I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now. I need time to think this through. Please give me time. Which leads to the next thing. So remember, we said there's 3 hooks they'll use. One is powerful emotions. The other is a sense of urgency. They will want to give you no time to think. They know that the longer you think about it, the more you'll catch on. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I have a virus, or why would I have a virus, or why would my email account be compromised? Things like that. You can think it through. So they don't want you to think. So you'll get an email saying something like, your bank account has been compromised. We will shut it down in 24 hours unless you do X. If you see any email that says, unless you do something in 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, something terrible will happen, I can almost guarantee you that is a scam. Amazon doesn't close accounts with 72 hours notice. eBay doesn't. Bank accounts don't just close customer accounts without notice. It just doesn't happen. That is a sign of a scam. So maybe they'll say something like, and if it's on the phone call, they'll say, he's in the hospital, we need this surgery now. That's a red flag. That's not how it works. If they say, we need you to provide bail now, bail can happen anytime. It doesn't have to be right away. So realize that when they're creating this sense of urgency, that is a sign they're trying to scam you. If you feel that happening, what you should do is slow down and buy time. If anyone tells you you have 24 hours or 1 hour or a few minutes, your response should be, I need time to think about this. And if it's in an email, you need time to think about it. So slow down, think things through. That will help you not become a victim. And then the biggest one, the third one they do that really helps them out, is they don't want you to talk to anyone about their scheme. So there will be some made up reason why you can't tell anyone. Let's talk about tech scams. A common tech scam is something like, we have found child pornography or just pornography on your computer. Well, that's terribly embarrassing, and no one on earth wants even to think about there being child pornography on their device. And that's so embarrassing and so dark and so sinister that you wouldn't even want to talk about that with someone. Well, that's exactly why they're using that scam, because you wouldn't want to tell your friends or your children about that kind of accusation. So Or it'll be something like, hey, you're falling in love and they're embarrassed that they need this surgery and it's embarrassing. So you please don't tell people because it's an embarrassing surgery. That is a lie they made up to make you not talk to someone about it. So what do? I recommend, so the first thing I recommend you do is write down, calm down, slow down, talk to someone you know. If the second thing I would do is everyone should take time now to think of someone in their life who you could talk to when something like this comes up. This should be a real person you have met in person, you can physically touch, like one of your children, a spouse, someone you know well. And you will say today, that's the person I will talk to when anything suspicious happens. And you'll hang up and you'll say, I just got the strangest phone call from my grandson saying he's in Mexico. And you explain what happened and tell them. And 9 times out of 10, just explaining it, you'll realize it sounds like a scam. But if not, the person you're explaining to can walk you through why it's probably a scam. The bottom line here is they don't want you to talk to someone you know. They want you to have high emotions, feel rushed, and feel isolated. So you got to undo each of those 3 things. So try to, while you're at dinner today or while you're resting at your evening, think about who in your life you can talk to that will help you unwind some of these weird situations that may come up. And it may just be a simple, I'll tell you, I get text messages saying there's an unpaid toll out of Illinois that you owe, and it's not thousands of dollars, it's usually a few hundred. That's something I could just talk to my wife and just say, I got a text about this toll. What do you think about that? Does that sound right to you? And we can talk about it. Well, we did go to Chicago back in the summer, but that was a while ago. So we can talk it through. That's all you need to do. And a lot of times talking it through solves the problem. What all they have in common? Experts in this field would call it a hot state. They want to get you thinking with your emotions. They want you to send money quickly, and they don't want you to talk to anyone else. So the way you undo that is calm down, slow down, talk to someone you know. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about is sometimes they know people are hesitant to send money, but they're less hesitant to give out their information. So they'll call, hey, this is Medicare, just wanted to verify your account. Please give me your date of birth, Social Security. Don't do that. Don't give out your date of birth. Don't give out your Social Security. If you get a call from Medicare and they say, we want to verify your account, hang up. And I don't think you need to do anything. But I have heard people say, well, I feel bad. I don't want to lose my Medicare. Fair enough. Hang up, Google Medicare 1-800 number and call that number. That is number, if you Google Medicare, that number you'll get is a legit number and you can call that way. The other way they try to get your information is through phishing scams. So what's that? That's just basically con artists sending millions and millions of emails hoping to get private information. So let's say they send 2 million emails. Most of those aren't open. 5% are open. Well, that's 100,000. Of those 5%, only 5% of that 5% actually click the link. And of that 5%, only 2% enter the data. That's 100 people. And if they just get $1,200 from each of those people, they made $120,000 through sending those emails. So even though 99.9% of them didn't get money, they don't mind because they got money from those few people who did. So that's how these email schemes work. So you'll get emails from things like ebay.com.kr or things like this. Or the bottom one is a Google with an extra O. They are tricking you into feeling comfortable sending information, but if you look carefully at the website, it's not legitimate. So the key takeaway here is if you get any email and you, first off, don't click links in emails, go to the website itself. If you get an email from your bank saying your account's been frozen, don't click the link in that email. Go to your bookmark or Google your bank and check your account that way. The other thing we want to know is you might have heard about spear phishing. That's just more targeted phishing attacks. What that means is they can go online and look on Facebook, look on your social media, maybe go on LinkedIn and know a lot about you just by Googling you. So they can make it seem a little more sophisticated by maybe knowing the names of your grandchildren or knowing where you work, things like that. So just because someone happens to know some things about your life doesn't mean they're trustworthy. They could find a lot of that online. So here's an example. You get an email from your bank, you click the link, and it looks legitimate. This looks like my bank, but the problem is the website at the top is this series of numbers. That goes back to Korea. This is a scamming effort. So what do? Remember, if you get an email, don't respond to emails for asking for personal information. And check the sender. But the main thing I would say is if you get an email, don't call the phone number in that email. Don't click the link in that email. Go online, Google it, and use those links. So if you bank with Chase Bank and it says your bank account has been frozen, do not call the number in that email. Go to Google or go to the back of take out your credit card, look at the back, there will be a phone number, call that number. Or if you want to check your account, go online, maybe you have your website bookmarked, use that bookmark. Do not click links in emails, do not call phone numbers in emails. That's how they get you. They're trying to scam you. And of course, calm down, slow down, talk to someone you know. And then the last thing I would say, people want your money, they want your information, but we've seen a huge increase in a third type of fraud, that people want you to move money for them. So don't ever accept packages of money from people you don't know. Why is that? Well, fraudsters, they're pretty good at getting money from their victims, but almost all of these fraudsters are in India or China or North Korea or Russia. So they don't have bank accounts in the United States. And they need their victim to send money to a bank account in the United States. That's where you would come in. So maybe this works is that you met someone online and they say, hey, my aunt needs money for a surgery. I'm going to have money sent to you. You just cash it, put it in your bank account, and wire it to this number. That is a scam. You're helping fraudsters. You're becoming complicit in fraud. You are moving money for them. So even though you might say, well, I didn't do anything wrong, I got 10,000 in my account, I just sent it to where I thought I was supposed to go. That's called being a money mule. It's illegal. Don't do it. Don't send money along, even if you feel like you know where it's coming from, where you think it's going. Don't accept packages of gift cards. Don't accept packages of cash. That is part of a fraud scheme. Another thing is they might ask you to open a bank account for them, or even worse, a cryptocurrency account. Don't do that. Don't open bank accounts for other people, especially people you've met online. If they're legitimate, they will be able to open their own bank account. It's not, if you are a real person with stand-up credibility, it's easy in this country to get a bank account. Criminals can't. They have a much harder time. So don't open bank accounts for other people. And then, as I was saying, don't receive packages from other places, don't receive packages of money orders, gift cards, cash. That's just another way to move money. This happens all the time. You don't want to get swept up in this. These people do risk getting charged with criminal charges. You don't want to be that. Even if you say, well, I didn't make money off this, I'm not rich, you still help the fraudster in their fraud scheme. You don't want to do that. And I don't have a slide on this, but I do want to say, remember, I'll go back a few slides to this slide. What I would stress is phone calls from numbers you don't know. That's the sense of urgency. That can be the most tricky to repel. So don't have any problem hanging up, or if you do feel uncomfortable hanging up, say, I need to think about this. Can I get a number to call you back on? That will stop a lot of fraud. The last thing I want to talk about is this third column, sorry, the middle column here, payment method. What we've seen in the last 6 months is they are pivoting from asking you to pay them with credit cards. They now ask people to pay them in cash or gold or Bitcoin, which is a type of cryptocurrency. And let me tell you about a case I worked just a few months ago. It was a person in Hamilton County who got a pop-up that said, your bank account has been compromised. Call this number. They called the number. It was their bank, or at least they thought it was their bank. They said, yep, your account has been compromised. We need to put you in touch with the FBI. So they get transferred. A new voice comes on, and it's the FBI. And the FBI says, yep, your account has been compromised. We're going to work with you to figure out what to do. Give us a few weeks. And they talked to him on and off for a few weeks. And after about a month, the FBI said, okay, we have a vault here in FBI headquarters in Indianapolis. You can put your money in your bank account, take it out in gold. We will take the gold and store it in our FBI vault until we get your bank account secured. So this person took the money out of their account, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, bought gold, and then someone met them at their house. They put the gold in the trunk, and the person drove away. They were a victim of fraud. And why did they say put it in gold? Why not say wire us the money? That would be so much easier. Well, if they had wired the money, we and the FBI would have been able to figure out what account went to. We've been able to freeze that account. We might have been able to even take the money back from that account. But when it's put in gold and put in someone's trunk, it is gone. We cannot undo that. We cannot trace that. We can't figure out what account it went into. We can't even figure out where it went. It is gone. Same with cash. Same with gift cards. That's why they will want you to pay in gift cards, cash, or gold, because they know as soon as they get their hands on that cash, as soon as they get that gold, they are scot-free. They can't be undone. It can't be traced. It can't be followed. So if you ever, and I'll say this with broad statement, if anyone ever asks you to pay them in gold or cash or Bitcoin, just stop. They are probably scamming you. And calm down, slow down, and talk to someone you know. At bare minimum, you could at least ask them, why can't I pay you with a check? Why can't I pay you why can't I meet you in person and write you a check? And they won't have a good answer for it. And they know it's because checks can be traced, checks can be stopped, checks can be canceled. They don't like that. So be mindful of that. So calm down, slow down, talk to someone you know, and be very leery of how they're asking you to pay. The weirder the method of payment, especially if it's gold, crypto, gift cards, that is a scam. So here's the key takeaway. Take a breath, slow down, talk to someone you know. So going forward after today, you get that phone call, you get that email that's giving you that rush of emotion. You're going to remember what you heard from Adam at the federal prosecutor that one day. And you're going to first calm down, think rationally. Then you're going to find some time. You're going to take a few hours, maybe a few days to think about it. And during that time, you're going to call someone you know, and talk to them about it. Any time you're going to send thousands of dollars, it's worth taking a few minutes and talking to someone. It could save you a lot of money. This is the Department of Justice, which is where I work, has a national elder fraud hotline. You can call this anytime. You can call it to report fraud. It can be that number you use to talk through a possible fraud. Feel free to put this on your contact list. I know AARP also has a number. Feel free to add that. And if you do these things, you can make sure you're not a victim. Your money that you've spent years and years accumulating, that you definitely earned, that is your money, you keep it. You don't give it to people who are just looking to make a quick buck. So that's all I have for you today. I think, Emily, you mentioned something about questions. I didn't see any come in, but I wasn't really looking at the chat.
We do have some questions. I'm going to let Addison kick things off. There's questions in the Q&A tab that we'll have a look at, if that's okay. Thank you, though, Adam.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks so much, Adam. That was wonderful. Really appreciate those guiding principles to help us navigate some of this unknown territory. Let's see here. I'll turn my camera on. Okay. So the first question has to do with fake profiles on Facebook. This one, it asks about why does Facebook allow fake celebrity profiles that can impersonate those folks and intimidate them? But maybe we can broaden that out to, fake profiles on social media and imitating folks that we might know to exploit, our finances or try to get something from us. Is there anything that we're doing that we can do to address that, or anything that law enforcement's doing to address that?
I'll try to answer in two ways. The first thing is just be mindful of Facebook. If they find someone is using an account to scam people, they will try to shut that down, and we can help with that. But they won't try to shut it down, and they're not very good at shutting down simply that's a fake one. So I don't have a Facebook account. Someone could easily create one in my name. They could figure out my date of birth, and Facebook wouldn't know it's not me. I wouldn't know it's not, people who might know me wouldn't know it's not me. So the bottom line is, you might look at a Facebook profile, it might look like someone, and they might even seem to be friends with someone you know, but you can't really be sure that profile belongs to the person you know, unless maybe you call them or you meet them and you see them at church or something, and you're like, hey, I got a Facebook invite. Was that from you? And they can say, yeah, I just set up Facebook. Sure, then you could be friends with them. But just be leery of fake Facebook profiles. One other thing I'd want to say is, I've heard, like I said, I don't have Facebook, but I've heard that there's a thing happening on Facebook where people will say, hey, respond with information about yourself. And what was the name of your first pet? What was the name of your first address? And it's kind of like a chain letter where they're trying to get a lot of responses. They're doing that because those are common security questions. What was the name of your first address? What was the name of your first best friend? What was the name of your first pet? What's your mother's maiden name? What's your father's middle name? Things like that. So the more they can figure out about you online, the more they have a chance of answering those security questions and hacking your account. So be very, very leery with what you share about yourself online, even with people you think you know, even on Facebook. And if it's something weird, like what's your mother's maiden name or what's your childhood dog's name, don't say that at all. They don't need to know that.
Thank you. And I think Emily has another question for you.
Yeah, well, I actually I see Mary Ellen Strange has her hand raised, so I was gonna give her permission to talk and see if, Mary Ellen, are you able to unmute yourself to ask your question?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. My question is, who supports or sponsors or who staffs the National Elder Fraud Hotline?
I know it falls under the Department of Justice, so I think Department of Justice employees. Now, I don't know if they volunteer or if this is their full-time job or how they select that, but I know it's by the Department of Justice.
Okay. Thank you. I have a comment I would like to make as well.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I know you talked a lot about Googling phone numbers, and I just want to share an experience with you that I've had. I have been scammed. I've lost all of my retirement savings, so close to $400,000. And the rabbit hole that I went down was I Googled the phone number. I did not call the scammer back on the number I was given, or I wasn't given one. I just didn't return the call on that number. But I waited 4 hours and I Googled a separate number because they said things to me that concerned me, that I had been involved in money laundering and smuggling cash over the border and a laundry list of things. And I didn't do all the things I know now to do, but I Googled the phone number and I was fed a bogus number. And there was an article in the Washington Post last August the 20th, and it was in their technology column. And the head of the column said, "Do not trust Google search for customer service numbers. It might be a scam." And that, in fact, is what got me. I was fed a bogus number and then wound up with a government imposter telling me he was there to help me because he added to it that I was also going to be charged with child pornography and all kinds of things. So anyway, I just want to share because to me, that Google search is what got me. So
Yeah, well, first off, that is terrible. Did you report that to law enforcement?
oh yes, I've been working with the FBI since last August, and in fact, I live in Southern Indiana, and we do joint presentations with the FBI agent who took my case. But of course, it was all those things you did talk about gold, buying gold, and buying, Bitcoin and prepaid credit cards, etc. All the things you warned us about are all the things that I did. So anyway, I do share my story. I talk in as many opportunities as I can drum up in the Southern Indiana and Louisville, Kentucky area to,
Yeah.
spread the word and educate people.
Well, I'm glad you said something today, and I'm sorry to hear that. And yeah, to explain the number, maybe what I typically mean is if you let's say you bank with Chase Bank, if you Google Chase Bank, the first result will be not to a scam site, it'll be to the real Chase Bank. And then if you go to that website, the numbers will, and you look at their web address and it's like Chase or JP Morgan, it looks right. The numbers on that website will be right. But maybe what I should start saying is, the number on the back of your credit card, you can't go wrong with that. That is always right. And that, maybe pull up one of your bank statements. The numbers on your bank statements will be right. So those are probably better methods. Googling, if you're not careful to follow the right links, it can lead you astray, which sounds like it would happen to you. So thank you for pointing that out.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Mary Ellen. Adam, it looks like we have a few more questions. I'm going to combine two of these questions. They have to do with artificial intelligence as well as voice cloning over phone. So the first question is scamming so professional that AI is incorporated in their techniques? Are there any controls in place by vendors or the government to prevent this? And then the other question relating to voice cloning is that really a threat over the phone?
Yeah, okay, I'm glad. Those are great questions. In my world, we're trying to catch bad guys. They figure out some new technology, we figure out some way to beat that. Then they figure out a new technology, and then we figure out some way to beat that. And two things that are frustrating us now is they do have the way to clone numbers. So they can you could get a call and you'll look at it and it says mom or son or a number you recognize. And it may not necessarily be that number. That technology exists, and it's scary because it used, what I've said in the past is, I still say, numbers you don't recognize, be very leery. And I even have said, you can go fine with, putting every number you don't recognize, sending it to voicemail. That is completely fine. But now you have to even be leery of numbers you do recognize. So they can do that. AI does have the ability to voice clone. So there are, they need a sample of that person's voice that you can't just go to AI and say, clone Adam Eakman's voice without feeding it a recording. But I've given this presentation before and it's on YouTube. So, and I've given other speeches that I think are on YouTube. Someone could clone my voice and they could clone my number and they could call my mom and it would be from my number and it would sound like me, and that's really scary. The good news is that's very time intensive and labor intensive, and so I haven't heard a lot of that happening, but I guess the takeaway is if it's a number you recognize, you can only, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed that person. And even if it's a voice you recognize, it doesn't mean it's that person. What you can always do is hang up and say, I need to think about this. The tips I gave in this presentation will still serve you well. So if you get a call from your grandson saying, I need $10,000 right away, you can still hang up, call that grandson's mom, slow down, talk to someone. The tips I gave will still work and it still should stop you from becoming a victim. But it is good to know that those technology advances are out there.
Yeah, that scam actually happened to my mom. Somebody stole my phone number. It looked like it was me calling her and asking for her to buy me a new phone urgently. And it took her like spidey senses going off in her head to be like, hold on, this is weird. Like something's wrong. And so she called my sister and my sister was like, no, that's a scam. Stop. So she had that safe, reliable person that she could double check with, like you mentioned earlier in your presentation. But that, as you spoke, I was like, that actually happened to my mom.
And probably what tripped her up was the sense, if you really did need a phone, I think you'd be at least kind enough to say, whenever, at your convenience or something. The sense of urgency was probably what did them in, because
it was, it was the urgent, I need this right now. And the person was saying, I'm in the phone store right now. I need you to send me this money right now. And my mom was like, hold on, that's weird. So I just want to read this next question from Marcia. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Says, I've had a PayPal account for years, and about 8 months ago, I opened Venmo and began getting messages about twice a month saying that I've purchased different kinds of software and other things, and my PayPal account is being charged. It never is, but it's a pain. I usually block them and report this as a spam. But is there anything I can stop this from anything I can do to stop this from happening?
Unfortunately, there's very minimal you can do. Besides block, it seems like they're doing what they already can do. And it sounds like this person's doing it, but just to make sure we're all on the same page. I get those I don't even have I don't think I have a PayPal account, but I get those all the time. And what I recommend you do is ignore them. But if it seems suspicious, go to your bookmark for PayPal and log into your account and see what's going on there. I do have an Amazon account and I get these same things for Amazon. And I just check my, every few days, every couple of days, I check, my orders, make sure it all looks right. And a lot of times I'm wanting, when am I going to get that book? So I'm checking anyway. And that's a reliable, if you have a bookmark for Amazon, you log in, it'll show up there. And also I would add Amazon, PayPal, these are sophisticated businesses. Amazon won't let someone order something from your account, ship it to some other address, without some sort of check. So it's pretty good. That usually doesn't happen.
All right, Adam. Well, I think we have time for about one more question, and I'm just going to read it here. It's from an anonymous attendee today. When they were scrolling on Google, they clicked on a political article, and a Norton scam took over their computer screen saying they had an issue, and it was so fast that they didn't know what to do. They don't use Norton, and thankfully their son was there to help stop and clean their phone. They think it's all taken care of now, but this person's afraid to scroll on Google and click on any articles going forward. So is there any way that this person can stop, this from happening when they're, scrolling online?
Yeah, I would not say, well, don't use Google, because Google is a valuable resource. It part of a good, healthy life is being connected to the outside world. So it sounds like maybe something is on your device that's causing this. So a couple of things you could do. You could go to some sort of antivirus program. I guess I would find someone that that you trust, that is tech savvy. Maybe sounds like this person's son, and say, I think I have viruses. Help me get rid of them. You could go to Geek Squad at Best Buy, get this stuff taken care of. I wouldn't say stay away from Google. I would say try to get whatever's causing that removed. And worst case scenario, you could always just get a new device. But I don't think you need to go that far. I would try to get it cleaned up.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I think that's about all we have time for today. So we can be respectful of everybody's time. But Adam, I am so grateful you were able to do this with us. This information was invaluable and some really great stuff that we'll take away. I just want to remind folks, if you can, take a picture of this slide with the phone number for the National Elder Fraud Hotline, write that down, and same for the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline, which is 877-908-3360. We have people available to answer the phones there and help give you next steps and guidance if you're worried that you have been scammed, or if you already are a victim. We have resources for what to do if you have been a victim of a scam. So those resources are there for you. But Adam, I don't know if there's anything you want to say to close us out after your presentation, but I will hand back to you really quickly.
Sure. One thing I like to say is, most people, when they go out for the day, they know to lock their door. And when they go to Meijer to go grocery shopping, they lock their car. Well, you're far more likely to be a victim of online scams than someone goes into your house and robs you. And just like you would still lock your door, it's just good hygiene for your finances to do the calm down, slow down, talk to someone you know. That's the equivalent of locking your front door. That's the equivalent of locking your car in the parking lot. If you do that, you'll stop 99% of the problems. And you follow those 3 steps, you should be good.
Awesome. That's great advice. Thank you so much. And to everybody who attended, thank you for being here today. We were recording this, so we will send this out to you as attendees in case you missed anything or want to go back and revisit what was said. We'll make sure we send this out. But Adam, thank you to you for being here today. We're so grateful. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you.